The Hinterkaifeck murders. Some crimes fade with time, others become legends. And then, there are crimes so terrifying, so inexplicable, that they continue to echo through history, leaving more questions than answers. In 1922, deep in the Bavarian countryside of Germany, a small family farm stood in near isolation. To passing travelers, it looked like any other homestead, a modest farmhouse, a connected barn, a few animals grazing the fields. But to the people who lived there, and to the neighbors who whispered about them, Hinterkaifeck was not just a farm. It was a place of tension, of secrets, and perhaps of fear. That March, 6 people who lived and worked on the farm were brutally murdered. The crime was shocking enough on its own, but it was the eerie events surrounding it that made this case unforgettable. In the days leading up to the killings, strange things began happening. Mysterious footprints in the snow leading toward the farmhouse, but not away from it, unsettling noises in the attic, a maid who quit her job saying she believed the place was haunted. And then, after the murders, came the most chilling detail of all. For days afterward, the farm appeared to be in use. The animals were fed, meals were cooked, and smoke curled from the chimney. Someone had lived in the house, calm, patient, unhurried, while 6 corpses lay just meters away. A century later, we still don't know who the killer was, or why they committed one of the darkest crimes in European history. But what we do know is that the story of Hinterkaifeck continues to haunt investigators, historians, and true crime enthusiasts alike. This is the chilling story of the Hinterkaifeck murders, Germany's creepiest cold case, and one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries the world has ever seen. Life on Hinterkaifeck Farm. Hinterkaifeck was not just a farm. It was a place of shadows. Located about 70 kilometers north of Munich, it sat in near isolation, surrounded by woods and fields. To reach it, you had to walk a narrow path away from the main road, which meant that strangers could approach unnoticed, and cries for help would go unheard. The household consisted of Andreas Gruber, 64, his wife Kazelia, 72, their daughter Victoria Gabriel, 35, and Victoria's 2 children, 7-year-old Cecilia and 2-year-old Joseph. On the night of the murders, a new maid, Maria Baumgartner, had also arrived. Andreas was not beloved. He was described as harsh, controlling, and stubborn. People in the village kept their distance. Worse still, there were whispers of darker things. In 1915, both Andreas and Victoria were convicted of incest, a scandal that stained the family for years. Some speculated that Josef, the youngest child, was Andreas's son rather than his grandson. Others claimed Josef's real father was a neighbor, Lorenz Schlittenbauer, who had a complicated and bitter history with Victoria. Despite the rumors, the family lived in isolation, working the land and keeping mostly to themselves. The farmhouse itself was large and drafty, built in an L shape that connected the barn directly to the living quarters. Every door creaked. The attic was cold and dark. It was the kind of home where secrets could hide, and where an intruder might go unnoticed. The Grubers carried on with life, but underneath the daily routines of farming, there were tensions, suspicions, and old wounds that never fully healed. And in March 1922, something began to stir around the farm that would soon turn their lives into a nightmare. Chapter 3: The Strange Signs. In the days leading up to the murders, unsettling things began to happen at Hinterkaifeck. Andreas Gruber told neighbors about a discovery that troubled him deeply: footprints in the snow. They began at the edge of the forest, leading straight to the farmhouse. But there were no footprints leading back. Whoever had approached the farm had never left, at least not the way they came. Inside the house, the family heard noises in the attic, heavy steps, scraping sounds. Andreas searched with a lantern, but found nothing. Stranger still, a newspaper from Munich appeared at the house. None of the family subscribed to it, and none of the neighbors recognized it. It was as if someone, perhaps an intruder, had left it behind. The maid at the time was terrified. She told others that the house felt haunted, and she refused to stay. She quit her job and left, never to return. For several weeks, the family lived without domestic help. Then, on March 31st, they hired a new maid, Maria Baumgartner. That same day, she moved her belongings into the house. That same night, she would be murdered. Even the family dog seemed unsettled. Villagers later recalled that the animal barked furiously at night in the days before the crime, as if warning of a presence no one else could see. Every sign pointed to danger, and yet the family carried on, not knowing the horror that was coming. Chapter 4. The Murders. The night of March 31st, 1922, was bitterly cold. Snow still lay in patches on the fields. Sometime that evening, the killer struck. One by one, family members were drawn into the barn. Perhaps they heard a noise among the animals. Perhaps the first victim went out to investigate, and the others followed, wondering why the last had not returned. In the darkness of the barn, they were ambushed. Andreas Gruber was struck in the head with a mattock, a heavy farm tool with a pick-like blade. His wife Kazelia was killed in the same way. Victoria Gabriel was bludgeoned so violently her skull was shattered. The youngest victim in the barn, little Kazelia, did not die instantly. Evidence later suggested she lived for hours after the attack, clutching her hair in terror, pulling it out by the roots before succumbing to her injuries. Inside the house, the killer turned on the maid, Maria. She was murdered in her bed. Then, 2-year-old Joseph was killed as he lay in his crib. 6 lives ended in a single night. But the true horror of Hinterkaifeck was only beginning, because the killer stayed. Chapter 5. Discovery of the Bodies. For days, Hinterkaifeck appeared normal. Smoke rose from the chimney. Neighbors thought they heard the animals being tended to. The family's dog was seen tied up outside, well cared for. But at the same time, life seemed strangely absent. Young Shazilia missed school. Victoria missed church choir practice. No one in the family was seen in the village. On April 4th, neighbors finally entered the farm. What they found horrified them. In the barn, 4 bodies were stacked under hay: Andreas, his wife, Victoria, and young Cecilia. Inside the farmhouse, the maid Maria lay dead in her room. Little Joseph was lifeless in his crib. 6 people were gone, and yet someone had been living there after their deaths. The food stores were partly consumed, bread had been sliced, fresh milk had been poured, the cows were regularly fed. The killer, it seemed, had remained in the house for several days, calmly inhabiting the farmhouse as though it were his own, surrounded by corpses. Chapter 6. The Investigation. The investigation into the Hinterkaifeck murders was chaotic from the beginning. The crime scene was not secured. Curious villagers trampled through the barn and house, contaminating evidence. Police interviewed over 100 suspects, from local vagrants to family acquaintances. But forensic methods in 1922 were primitive. There were no fingerprints collected, no DNA testing, no crime scene photography as we know it today. The victims' skulls were later removed and sent to Munich for study, in the hope that forensic experts could provide insight. During World War II, those skulls were lost, forever ending the chance of modern forensic testing. Investigators pursued every possible lead. A reward was offered. Even clairvoyants were consulted in desperation. Yet the case went cold. Still, suspicions lingered. Some names would come up again and again, especially that of neighbor Lawrence Schlittenbauer. But no one was ever convicted. The mystery deepened with every passing year. Chapter 7. Theories and Suspects. Over the past century, countless theories have been put forward about who killed the Gruber family. The robbery theory was considered first. Police thought bandits may have targeted the isolated farm, but money, jewelry, and valuables were left untouched. If it was a robbery, why kill everyone and then stay in the house afterward? Neighbor Lorenz Schlittenbauer became a central suspect. He had a complicated history with Victoria. Some say he fathered her son Josef. He had fought bitterly with Andreas over the paternity. He was among the first to discover the bodies, and some villagers said his behavior was odd. At the scene, he reportedly unlocked doors that others believed were locked, leading some to suspect he had a key. He also seemed unusually calm, even as he examined the corpses. Still, there was no evidence strong enough to charge him. The attic intruder theory is perhaps the most frightening. Many believe the killer had been hiding inside the farmhouse before the murders, possibly living in the attic. The footsteps, the noises, the mysterious newspaper, and the maid's fear all point to an intruder silently waiting. After the crime, this person may have stayed on, feeding the animals, eating the family's food, blending into the household as though it were his own. Other suspects have been named escaped prisoners, wandering vagrants, or war deserters hiding in the countryside. Some even suggested that Victoria's husband, Carl Gabriel, reported killed in World War I, had faked his death and returned in secret for revenge. But each theory unravels under scrutiny. Every suspect lacked solid evidence. Each clue led only to more questions. To this day, no one knows who carried out the murders on Hinterkaifeck. Chapter 8: Legacy and Outro. The murders at Hinterkaifeck shocked Germany. The story spread across Europe. How could 6 people be murdered in their own home, with the killer vanishing into the night? The farmhouse was eventually demolished, but the mystery endured. Today, a memorial stone marks the site, where visitors still leave flowers. Writers, historians, and true crime investigators have all tried to solve the case. Books and documentaries revisit the evidence, exploring the strange footprints, the attic noises, the family secrets, and the bizarre behavior of the neighbors. But the answers never come. What remains is a legend of a family cursed by secrets, of a farmhouse haunted by whispers, and of a killer who seemed to appear and disappear like a phantom. 100 years later, Hinterkaifeck is still one of Europe's most chilling unsolved mysteries. So what do you think happened? Was it a jealous neighbor, a vagrant killer, or someone who lived in the house unseen? Share your thoughts in the comments. This was Crimes in the Shadows. Thank you for watching. And if you want more dark mysteries, don't forget to subscribe.